Hi, welcome to the Jansen Art Studio. I'm David Jansen, and we're painting some Painted Simply stroke roses today. They're very easy roses. These are part of the Painted Simply program. If you've never stroked anything like this, it's going to take a little bit of practice, but it's a very easy little stroke. There's nothing complicated about it. In the Painted Simply, the program is based around what we call concept lessons. You learn concepts, and those concepts carry through with you through all the different styles of painting that you're going to do. And we have very simple colors. We have in the entire hundreds of paintings in the series that we have coming, we have 14 colors. That's all you're going to use. Brushes, 3 main brushes are your painting brushes. That's all you're going to use. And I do everything very, very simply. That's why we call it Paint Simple. This little board that I painted here, I painted in 10 minutes. I'm going to show you how to do one of these roses here in just a couple minutes. And it's very simple. It's painted with one brush. This entire piece is painted with one brush. It's this brush right here. And you can paint colors like that. You can make the colors a little bit brighter by, and you control everything by how much base color you put down. Or you can paint the colors very soft, like I have here on this cloth, very, very soft. And exactly the same brush, exactly the same strokes, exactly the same concept. But you'll be surprised. I have this one over here, which I painted this entire painting here in 3 hours, and this rose here follows exactly the same concept. We're going to be dividing our roses up into 3 circles, and so we're going to have an outside circle, an inner circle, a middle circle, and a smaller circle. This one, instead of painting the petals on the strokes going across, the petals are painted up and down, and the petals are painted in. So how we use our brush in what we call brush calligraphy is going to determine how that flower looks, okay? But it's going to start with some simple concepts, and let's learn the first simple concept. I'm going to use my palette, and I put the colors out here in the Global Arts palette. This palette is extremely important. This is the Heritage Multimedia paint. It is a paint that you control. It has to be, the paint that you use has to be a heavy-bodied paint that has a lot of pigment in it. Bottled acrylics will not work with this type of technique. They're not strong enough in pigments, and so you need a heavy-bodied paint. You need it a little bit thicker, heavier body paint for this particular technique to work. And so I suggest that you use the Heritage Multimedia acrylics. They're designed exactly for it, and we're designing this entire painting series for the Heritage Multimedia. Also with the Global Palette, the colors put out in this way, these are the 14 colors of the series. This is all you need right here to paint hundreds of paintings. You don't need to remember the color name. You don't need to do complicated mixing or anything like that. You put them out in the palette, and the palette's going to do it for you. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is I mixed up a color here. I used my palette knife here just a few minutes ago, and I mixed up this color. And this is just white with a little bit of yellow and a little raw umber just to make a lighter color. And I'm going to take my soft brush. These are the brushes that I use in the entire series. This is it. This is all of them that I use in the series. And I'm going to be using today to paint this rose, I'm going to be using the number 6. This is the brush, and the brush is extremely important. This brush is a fusion brush. It is a combination of both a watercolor brush and a synthetic brush, so it can do some very, very soft blending, all the way up to just some controlled strokes. So I use this brush very specifically, and it gives me a fantastic calligraphy that I can carry through in Alla Prima techniques and this simple little stroke rose that we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is take, just a little bit of color, and I'm going to put it lightly here on the background, just very lightly on the background. Different techniques, I'll use different amounts. One thing that's very important is that we paint into, and with a lot of this particular part of the technique of the Painted Simple, is that we paint into a wet background. So I'm going to paint into the wet background. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to find 3 circles on our flower. Roses and everything have 3 circles. They have an outer circle, and we come in and we make a smaller circle, and we come in and we make a smaller circle. And I come up and I make these smaller circles, each one coming up and touching right up here by the top. So when you look at a rose like this, you'll see there's a smaller circle, intermediate bowl circle, and a larger outer circle. And just like on the Alla Prima one I showed you a second ago, that rose here, that rose sits here just like that too. So here's the circle, here's the smaller circle, that circle, and then the outer circle here. It's a concept for roses, and so a lot of the roses, we're going to see how to paint realistic roses all the way to stroke roses. They follow those same concepts. There's an inside, a bowl, and then what we call the reaching petals, the opening petals. Inside here is where I do my inside petals. This is where I do my bowl petals. This is where I do what we call the reaching petals here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we have a wet color. I'm going to pick a color, and I'm just going to take a red here. I've just been painting here a few minutes ago, and I have some reds out here. This is Naphtha Red Light from my palette, and it already has mixed up into it a little bit of extender. When I put it out into the palette here like this, what I do is when I put the colors out, is I put the colors out, and then I mix in a little bit of extender medium into each one of the colors as I put it out. Now this will slowly over time, what will happen is the water will come out of there, and I'll get really, really extended blending times all the way up to 8 hours, which allows me to do some fantastic oil emulation blending Alla Prima techniques, which I'll show you later on in some of the series when we paint some of those other pieces. So the extender medium is very important. So I mix it up in that palette. Those colors will stay nice for many years inside that palette, so you don't have to worry about mixing your, losing your colors. This is the Heritage Multimedia. It's designed to do this, and so that color is going to stay nice. It is designed. Don't try to take another acrylic and think you're going to be able to do it with it, because you can't. So I may have a little bit of this mixed up like this, and now what I'm going to do is find my outside circle. I'm going to find this outside circle line here. So I start right in here like this, and I just keep walking this out until I get the flower to right about where I want that circle to be. But I kind of find the size of the circle of the flower that I want it to be. Sometimes I make it a little big, or you can make it a little smaller. You can make it whatever size that you want here. Like if I wanted to make a slightly smaller flower here with bigger petals, or I can make a big flower like here with many, many small petals on here. There's going to be lots of ways, but the most important thing is we find the circle. The next step is we have to find our 3 circles. So I have the 1 circle. And if you think that the beauty of the Heritage Multimedia staying wet like this, if you think that this circle is a little harsh, just take your finger like this and rub it along the edge like this, and you can soften out that edge just like that. And you can run your finger around, and you can make a real blurry edge as opposed to a hard edge. So, if you want the back of a flower to be soft or something like that, just run your finger around. The finger, the hands were very important to a lot of painters for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we don't use as many brushes, and sometimes we'll use our hands, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. So now I have this red on here. Now I want to make just a darker red. We have a red violet, which is a real dark red on our palette, and maybe I'll add a little bit of black and maybe a bit of umber, any of the umbers, just to darken this up a bit. And let's just come right in here. Now what I want to do is I want to find this circle, and I just want to do a small little touch, and then I want to build this up like this, pushing up. In a lot of the painting, a lot of the flowers that you'll see, even with the Alla Prima flowers, you'll see me push up, you'll see me go up, grow the flower up. Don't do strokes like this. That pulls the flower down and causes the flower to sink. There's other techniques for that, but we want to push up. I want the flower to grow up. So I'm going to take some of this color, and right in here I'm going to make a smaller little circle of it. I'm just going to push up, and I'm just going to use a little bit of pressure and push up. Now the color starts to run off my brush. If the color doesn't run off your brush enough, you have maybe a little bit too much on your brush, all you have to do is just wipe some off your brush with a paper towel like this, and just keep going, and that'll see how it gets softer and softer? Here, we want to just push up a little bit till you have that nice circle like that. And that just paints it wet in the wet. It's a full load on the brush. You just loading up the brush, just tap it. I don't like to mix like this. I just like to tap it through pretty hard. Pick up a full load on the brush just like that. Okay, it's not gobby on there, but it's a full load. Now what I'm going to do is line the brush up like it's a clock. It would be at 12 and 6. Okay, so if I had a clock up here, 12 o'clock would be up here like this, 12 and 6 o'clock would be right here, 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock would be over here. I'm lining the brush up so the chisel, it's lining up like this. Okay, so I'm going to line up here right about like this, and I'm just going to stroke down and then right back up. And what's going to happen is, just like in calligraphy, it's why we call it brush calligraphy, it's going to widen down here and lighten back up here. So I'm going to push just a little, don't press down very hard, and just drop down like this, which is going to get wider, and up like this, and you can see it forms a circle. and I want to just bring it up a little bit more and a little bit more. I can soften a lower edge if I want to, here like that. If you want more color, because I pick up just a little bit of that wet color there, you can just wipe your brush, maybe pick up a little more shadow, and you can line your brush up again at 12 and 6 and pull down again like this, and you will darken that color. How many times? You can stroke this over and over and over. You can stroke this 40 times if you want. Of course, you won't be able to paint roses in 10 minutes, but you can you can stroke it as many times as you need. If you want this darker inside there, you can just do that darker again. If you want more red out here, let's say I want a little more red showing up here, then take a stroke of red out here like this and cause this to darken up a little bit more, or more red into there. You can just stroke, but it's following that stroke motion here. This is the simple stroke rose. Now, what I'm going to do is I just wipe my brush. I'm going to pick up a dollop of white over here, and I set it here. And then I just tap through it a little bit. So I got a nice load of white on my brush. And if you tap through it a lot, it'll go kind of pink. If you don't want it too pink, you can add a little bit of yellow. Sometimes I like the colors to be, especially as I add white. One of the concepts that we're going to teach as you paint is usually as a color gets lighter, add yellow. And so I'll usually just add a little bit of yellow into that too. It gives me a little different color. I'm going to line the brush up with that same 12 and 6 right up here like that. And I'm going to put on the front of the rose here this time with the lighter color and start stroking down like this right into some of my shadow color, right like that. And if it starts to lighten up too much down there, then just do this. Just pinch wipe your brush. Just pinch wipe the color right off. Just pull it right here like that, right off. And then just stroke right through it again, and it'll soften that line. Now, you don't want to blend too much. We want to keep this kind of soft, but that's what you can do that, and that works fine. Then we'll pick up some more color. Now, we'll put the first petal on the flower. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to line our brush up at 9 to 3. So for the bowl and everything, we're at 12 and 6. Now, we're going to go 9 to 3, and I'm going to set it right down here someplace. Here's 9 and 3. You can start right down in here, a little bit below 9 o'clock, and all you're going to do is set the brush down a little bit, and you're just going to stroke it right like this, right up underneath the bowl, right up along this way, right here. And what's going to happen in just good calligraphy, it's going to go wide, and then it's going to taper off right here as you pull it down this way. And that's what you're going to do, is just set the brush down and then just drag it around onto its chisel. Set it down and drag it around on this chisel. That's what's going to build the petals. If you want petals lighter, then you just you pick up more white, takes lots of paint. Load up lots of paint here like this, and let's set another petal in right in here like this. We just set it down here at that, and we'll just pull right around here onto this side right here like that. Set down, let's set a smaller one, maybe a smaller one right over here like this, just a little one. You can put all kinds. Maybe if you have more room there, drop one in there, or maybe drop one right over here onto this side here this way too. So you can drop them all up here. It's all different kinds of ways. We can also make just pinch wipe your brush like this. Take a little bit of color right on the tip. So just a little bit right here. And you can go set the brush at 12 and 6. So anytime you're painting in the bowl, you're at 12 and 6. Anytime you're pulling petals across, you're at 9 and 3. Then we'll just come up like this and around. And we just don't change our brush. Just go up like this and around. And you'll make some lighter petals there. And then you can finish it all off by maybe even taking a little bit of yellow here. Take maybe a little bit of yellow and some white. Don't mix it up real well, but just a little bit. Just kind of tap those all together. And what I like to do in several of the paintings, which you'll see, is I add just a few little dots in there, which just kind of lighten up the center of the rose. And so I'll do the rose all different kinds of ways. When you look at these right here, you'll see all different kinds of ways in which I've stroken them. Sometimes I'll add a couple the other way here, and sometimes they'll have 3, sometimes just little 2. They're fun little stroke roses. Each one's a little different. As you look at this, each one of the roses is different. Started this one out red, this one out yellow, this one down as a real kind of toned white. They're a lot of fun. We have a lot of things to show you, leaves and everything. Look for more of these things on the Jansen Art Studio. I'll see you there.